Welcome back to the Film Society, Ms. Ullman.
Thank you very much. When was I here last?
You were here for the New York Film Festival for the screening of Live in Imar.
Exactly.
Yes, so welcome back. And you have a bunch of fans here who gave you a very rapturous applause. That was really nice, everybody. So, Ms. Julie, what was the beginnings of this? This is a play by August Strindberg. When did you first become familiar with that play? And we'll go from there.
Well, obviously, I'm an actress, and I have been for like 52 years or something. So, being Scandinavian, although I'm Norwegian, not Swedish, Strindberg has always been very familiar to me. But I've never wished really to play Miss Julie, or I've never done any of Strindberg's plays, but I did do Street Named Desire here with Kate Blanchett, and Tennessee Williams was tremendously influenced by Strindberg, and as it turns out, a lot of big writers, they were very influenced by Strindberg. O'Shane O'Neill, when he won his Nobel Prize, he thanked August Strindberg for all the inspiration, and Bernard Shaw, he translated many of his things into English, paid for it and so on. So I understand why writers really feel inspired by him. And when I did Streetcar Named Desire, and I recognized so much of Miss Julie in that I read it again, and suddenly I thought, oh, I would love to do this as a film, but nobody asked me, because they don't usually ask somebody my age to do another movie. And then somebody did ask me, and they were first-time producers, and they asked if I would direct a movie and write the script myself, and I said, so what about Miss Julie, August Strindberg? And they said, yes. And they didn't know what they said yes to, but it became Miss Julie, and I'm so happy for doing that, because it's so full of everything I want to talk about, both as an actress, as a writer, and very much now as a director, how we are existing at the same time in this world, and how little we do connect. And you have this incredible writer, Ian Forster, who says, you know, the most important thing in life is to connect. And I found in Miss Julie 3 people, they do not connect, they have every chance, but so much in their class difference, and it happens in 1890, and so much between the 2 lovers who are not really lovers, between man and woman. You don't listen, you don't see, and you want to be seen, and you want to be listened to. And I thought, I want to write a script. And so Strindberg, this was a long answer, I'm not going to do that.
I'd rather hear you than me.
But Strindberg, he didn't like women at all. And he really didn't kind of hide that, because in the foreword of Miss Julie, he wrote a lot of things that he felt about women, and there's not a woman here who would like it, and hopefully not too many men either. And so I thought, you know, since this is an adaptation, I'm free, and so I allowed Miss Julie to say things that maybe Strindberg let her think, but he didn't put it in words. And I even let John, the servant in the movie, say things that maybe Strindberg just let him think, and that's where the adoption comes in.
Yeah, and for those who maybe are not as familiar with the story, but you could probably ascertain from the trailer that the crux of the story is the daughter of a baron living in a castle in Ireland in around 1880s. Sort of seduces, kind of gets friendly with her father, the baron's valet.
Well, I would say, am I allowed to disagree with you?
Yes, please. Liv Ullman disagreed with me.
Because no, I'm going to disagree, because she does not seduce him. Because I believe when Miss Julie comes in, she is a woman who is so disconnected really from the world already, that I feel what she's connected to mostly is a wish to maybe disappear, maybe to be part of nothing, and in nothing she would feel some kind of serenity. But things happen, and who asks and wants the other one is never really clear, but it's really what happens between man and woman, or woman and woman, and man. It's really, once you start to connect in a certain way, something happens, and sometimes when you have no words you also get into lovemaking, which the two of them do.
Right. And I want to go back a little bit, and you were talking about Strindberg didn't really like women, but of course you adapted.
But he loved, he married many of them. But
right.
it was against his wish, because he really looked down at their character somehow. If you read that, it's terrible what he writes about us. So I don't think he minds that I allowed her to be nicer than he wanted her to be.
Well, that's what I was going to ask, was how did you put sort of Liv Ullman's touch on his story?
Because I am a woman, and when she, he gives her some of his dreams, and you know, when you give dreams to someone, you mustn't thread badly at those dreams. Yeats wrote about that. Be careful to step on other people's dreams. And she does that. She comes down to the kitchen, where he, in a way, is the master, and she starts ordering him around, telling him, get me beer, sit down, get up, kiss my shoes, and things like that. She starts ordering him around, but at the same time there is someone inside of her that he forget to write about, Strindberg, at that time, that really wants to be seen, who isn't sitting there ordering and just feeling this. There's also someone saying, I am scared, I want to belong, do you see me? And in those minutes, the camera can go close and you can see a face that is begging, asking, alone. You can hear words that is saying, I have to tell you something. Do you ever feel this? That you are no one? Strindberg didn't write it, but I'm sure that's what she was thinking. Because she didn't come down to order him around. She came down to the kitchen to be accepted.
Right. And so these characters in your film, this film version of Miss Julie, come alive through Jessica Chastain, Colin Farrell, and Samantha Morton. And I want to cue my colleagues upstairs to the first clip, because I do want to talk about their performances and your working with them. But why don't we take a look at the first clip, and I have a little cheat sheet here. It's called We Are Leaving to You Will Ask God to Forgive You.
Listen. If I leave, I'll never get another job like this. And you, why should you go? You've never seen much of the world anyway. I don't know where you would go.
When the Baron leaves
This is the
on the 14th of October, then we are leaving too. It's been some years now, you and me. Would you forget your obligations? Let's hope that the Baron will never find out what happened here in his servant's room this midsummer night. Go and shave yourself. You don't want him to come home and see you looking like this. I'll take the dog out, and I'll come back, and you and I will go to church, and you will ask God to forgive you, and I will ask him to help us. All of us.
Jessica Chastain, Colin Farrell, and Samantha Morton, how did your paths cross to bring them on board for this movie?
Well, I needed really, really great actors, and they were my first choice, and I'm very, very happy for that. I think, for example, Jessica Chastain, who plays the lady of the house, I mean, she gives an Oscar-worthy performance, and actually so do the two other people as well. They are theater actors, and they are also screen actors. And we had 26 days to do the movie, and when they came, they knew the whole play, they knew all their lines. We had a few days of rehearsals where we sat around the table and talked about the play, and I came with, you know, some of the thoughts I had while I wrote the screenplay. And then we started, and the wonderful thing with great actors is that once you start and you are in a film, and this is a film, it's not, what do you call this other thing?
Digital?
Digital. It's not digital. It's still one of the few movies coming out that is a film, and it's beautifully, beautifully photographed. Once we started, the part belongs to the actors. We knew what it was about, where we were going with the story. But once I say camera, they start, they create, and they really created wonderful, and things that I didn't know, that I didn't see in rehearsals and that we hadn't talked about, that just happened in their face, in their movement. I was so touched by what they gave and how wonderful it is to be an actor. And I never felt this myself when I was an actor. I loved it, but I never really knew that I was creative. And I was, because I was a good actor too. But I didn't really see it the way that I saw it with these people. It was fantastic. John, the first time when he comes down in the kitchen and he's ordered around by her, the way he plays the servant, who in his own place, you know, has to do a lot of things that he never dreamt would happen to him, that he does it, and he does it like, you know, when a man gets offended, sometimes he doesn't necessarily get violent. He doesn't necessarily get, you know, macho. He can become like a 5-year-old because he loses his self-confidence. And, you know, normally you would feel warmth for him. And he does that so beautifully. She tells all these orders to him, and he is stiff, and he's 5-year-old, and he's trying to find his dignity. It's so incredibly done by Colin Farrell. And she, who is sitting there ordering, you can see, which I said earlier, you can see behind this sitting here and ordering and getting completely out of line, there is someone saying, please talk to me, please see who I really am. And for a director, you just marvel, because I didn't tell them to do that. They did it. That's where great actors are. Creators.
It was interesting. I was reading up on some articles about the film during the Toronto Film Festival, where the film debuted, and it was interesting because there were some observations among the press that Jessica Chastain's character mirrored, or at least had some of the aura of some of the characters that you have played as an actor through your decades on the big screen. I was kind of curious if you agreed with that, or somewhat agreed with that, or what your thoughts were on that.
Well, you know, I can see now, which I didn't see before, that we can look alike. maybe not in that movie, but I saw, you know, photos that were lying on the set when, you know, they took pictures of her in makeup to remember. And so I thought, yeah, well, that could have been me when I was very young. But no, we are not the same kind of actors. Because although I played a lot of really neurotic, sad people, and maybe that's the movies you most have seen, although I'm not that. I'm a really happy, wonderful person. But I did that, and I would often go for sympathy, you know, see, you know, my situation and see my suffering and see all of this. She doesn't do that. Jessica doesn't do that. And there is a scene in the movie where they really have started to really kill each other, and they are going to escape. And she comes in with her little bird, which is the only thing that is her ownership, the only living creature that cares for her. And he kills the bird, suddenly, tremendously, in a horrifying way. And I know, since you asked...
Like a panic.
Yeah, although the bird is it's not, it's a toy.
No birds were killed in the making.
Nothing is killed.
Except for beauty craft services. No.
Right. But I know what I would have got, because it's an incredible scene. And I would have got, I mean, I would have cried, and I would have wept, and it would have been, you would all have wept with me. I would have done that. Jessica, he comes, and we are on her face, and she's holding the bird. And I saw this only once with an audience. And she's holding the bird, and at that time it's alive. And in that same, he comes in, and he takes the bird away from her, and we are on her face, and then he has a big knife, and we follow his knife, and the bird is there, dead. Jessica comes down in that picture. The horror, the sobbing is the worst sobbing I've ever heard, because it comes from somewhere deep down. It's not me weeping, it's not something that you would care for. It's sobbing from, this is me as a human being and my life is over. This is when I die. I'm dying now. That is how she did it. And then it went over to enormous rage, and she almost is killing him with his knife. I would never have done it like that. But when I saw this, first of all, when I saw her do it, I cried so much after, I couldn't believe what she did. But when we saw it with an audience, no, the audience were not weeping. When the audience saw her face come down, and together with the bird, they screamed. The whole audience in Toronto, a very big, loud scream. And I believe that we as human beings in this terrible world we're living in now, with so much violence and so much things that is happening in our world, I believe that we are keeping in so many screams, so much that we are afraid of, so many things we don't dare to say to anyone. And that scream, suddenly in a dark room with a lot of strangers around, people are allowed to scream, a scream they are feeling about being alive in this world. And that's the kind of scream her face and her sobbing made. I admire her for that. And that's why I think movies are more important than ever, because we live in this world. More important than ever because they do combine everything. Literature, dance, music, writing, everything. And we can still go there and get some answers to the world we're living in. And maybe walk out of the cinema and have some new thoughts, or make some parallels to the life we're living now. And that's why it's so sad if the movies more and more goes into, you know, this box office, whatever they are called.
I want to cue my colleagues again for the next clip, but just a question, and actually consistent with the screen. As I was watching Miss Julia, I was fortunate enough to see it before today. One of the aspects that really struck me was obviously the class division. The class division that existed in the 1880s is perhaps different in the sense of what happens today.
I'm going to disagree.
Let me finish. I was going to say different in the sense that, you know, in this situation there's a baron and there's a landed gentry and there's a title and an official nobility, but obviously the class difference is there. You can still see the parallels in the story to today, even though it is set in the 1880s. I think it's very much, it could be very much a contemporary story. And I was wondering if you had that sort of going through your mind. Is that what you were going to disagree with me about? No.
What kind of class difference is there in the world today? At this time, yes, the servants, they lived under the ground. When they looked out of the window, they saw a white chalked wall because they are under the ground. There are bedrooms under the ground. There is a long tunnel from the kitchen and out to the main road, so that the people up there will not be disturbed, that servants and people like that are walking on the grass that belongs to them. Now, what do we have today? What are we not really wanting to see that is happening in the world? So much misery and so few people that have a wonderful time. Are they really seeing what is happening? And I used Ebola today, I thought of that today. When people in West Africa is dying from Ebola because of their situation, from where they're coming, what do? We say, please do not bring them to our country. It's very nice that some people will go there and heal them. If that is their choice, go and heal them, but please don't come back and disturb us. We are also sitting in a good place in the house where we can see the sun and the grass, and we are not disturbed by people coming over the grass. We are doing the same, and maybe in a much worse way, because we know about it. We see it on TV, we see it everywhere, and we still feel right in saying, please do not disturb my safe life with this, what is happening. I feel it is worse today. Class looks different today, but it is worse today because we should know better, and we don't, including myself. We really don't.
Okay, so the next clip, it's with Colin Farrell and Jessica Chastain. It's called A Kiss in the Catacombs. Actually, that the editor of this movie, Mikhail Lestovsky, is here and is sitting there. talk about the location. This is at a castle in Ireland, if I'm correct, and talk about the aesthetic that all the filmmaking team went for in this portrayal of Miss Julie. Oh, the aesthetic that you guys went for, that all of you went for this movie, and talk about the location where you
yes,
shot.
well, we looked for, castles everywhere, and according to Strindberg, of course, this happened in Sweden, but I couldn't make it Swedish because why would they speak English? And obviously the producers wanted an English-speaking movie, which I do understand. And so it was between England and Ireland, and I feel that in many ways Ireland is closer to Scandinavia. Also, they celebrate Midsummer Night because all of this happens Midsummer Night. And we looked at many castles, and suddenly we found this incredible castle that had everything we needed. It had this enormous kitchen. The wonderful set designer, she made these 2 rooms where the maid has one room, the housekeeper has one room, and the servant has the other room. And the windows that look out at the white wall because they are underground. And then this incredible tunnel that goes from the kitchen and far, 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 far out to the main road, so that the invisibles should continue to be invisible. And it had these incredible stairs up to the main rooms that belonged to the rich, wonderful people, and it had these small servants' stairs that goes down to the servants. And it had everything, so actually it became the 4th character. And you see in the beginning, because I also let us see Miss Julie as a child of 10-year-old, and you see her in these enormous stairs where she's all alone. There's no grown-up, there's no one there, and you see her go through the stairs and go into a room where there's been a party and the glasses are lying there. It must have been a wild party, and she's all alone, and she comes into another big room with all the beauty and so, and she's so unhappy and so alone, and suddenly there's an open window and she runs out to the garden far, far away where there's a beautiful brook that belongs to her, and there she sits and she sends flowers down the brook, and suddenly she feels at peace, she feels serenity. She says to the flowers, you're all small, but you're all a piece of the whole, and she's happy. And in the end, that's where she goes to end her life, too. But that place, it was magical. And I really had to redo the script, because when I wrote it first, I used the windows, because I thought out of a window you see midsummer, you see the sun, you see the flowers, you see the trees. It was so beautiful in my way, the birds, everything. And then we found this castle, and I knew they see nothing from that kitchen. They just see the white walls. And I redid the script, and obviously much more right to the movie itself, and to Strindberg.
I feel like there's a consistency in some of the films that you have directed, conflict between sort of, love coming up against a social order, societal pressure. And that's true, I think, in Sophie and Faithless and Kristen Lavron's daughter. So is that, am I correct? And why are you attracted to that, if so?
Well, maybe that's what I'm most interested in. I spent so many years, besides working as an actress, director, and so with an organization called the International Rescue Committee, and also now we made the own division of that called Women for Refugees. I'm saying it wrong now because we changed our name. But it's International Rescue Committee is one of the greatest, maybe the biggest refugee organization in the world. And we, the new organization, which is not actually 25 years, we work only for women and children, because in whatever uproar there is in the world, they are the people, 85% of the people who have to give in to the trauma. And I think from what I learned from those people, I see there is such a division in the life that I was given without doing anything, and the life they have without doing anything as well. So I think somehow it comes into what I work, because there's no other way I can excuse that I'm not out in the field and doing something. But at least I'm trying to somehow put class.
Mm-hmm.
But the unfair class. I think it's good that people can earn money and be rich. I really think that is good.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think anyone in the world should be rich on behalf of somebody else being kept poor. And just a little episode, I was in India and it was raining, and there was sitting on the other side of the road, there was sitting a woman, and you know, her belongings were around her and her children and everything, and nothing else she had, and it was raining, and she took her shawl and put it over her and the children, and I was with some other, and I stopped and I was looking at her, and then she's doing like this, and I went over and I was asked to sit down, and her shawl is over my head as well, and we're just sitting there. We have no common language, we have nothing. But there is a shawl over my head that tells me that, you know, there should never be a tunnel between us and other people, so that we will not see them. And I think it sneaks into the movie.
I mean, I think of it, well, I don't know, I feel like I'm going to dig a hole here a little bit, but it's particularly Scandinavian, I think, this sort of concept that there should not be such a big difference between the top and the bottom. I mean, correct, yeah. And
well, you know, we cannot drive elegant cars. Lots of us would maybe like to, but that's kind of a little shameful. And those who do it, like, that's a little shameful. Well, that's where I grew up, and that's kind of... and we're not allowed to carry guns either.
I'm going to cue my colleagues again for the third clip, and I do definitely want to get to your questions, so we'll do that, so get them ready. But just to lead us into this, I mean, more of a general question, Ms. Ullman. How has your long acting career sort of informed you as a director?
By working with many bad directors. And they tell me what I'm thinking and why I'm thinking it, and oh, I won, and he said, and so you come in of the door, and there's the man you love, and your heart is going like this, dum, 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 and then you come in and you count to 3, and then you say very quickly, I love you, and so. And you know, I'm very perceptive. When people say things, I think I have to do it. So I come in of the door, and I know it's going boom, 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 and then I say very quickly, I can never do that right. So I know you do not explain emotions as a director to an actor. You don't do that in real life to people either. If you want somebody to love you, don't tell him or her how to love you. Just be in a way that could be lovable. And from the good directors I've learned trust, I've learned believe in the actor's creativity, And I think that goes with life too. And that's my difficulty, you know. I think other people are controlling me and I tell them not to do it, and in that way I'm so controlling too. It's very, very difficult to live a splendid life, but we can always try, and I learned that from good and bad directors, and it really goes over into life.
Okay, for clip number 3, it's Jessica Chastain and Colin Farrell. A toast, kiss my shoe.
Toast me. Are you bashful?
To your health, Miss Julie.
Bravo. Now kiss my shoe to get it just right. An actor.
One question, and I'm going to turn it over to you guys. But Ingmar Bergman staged Miss Julie in the early '90s, and I think it actually had it played at BAM over in Brooklyn. He had also done Ibsen's A Dollhouse and his own adaptation from The Scenes of Marriage. And I read that he saw the three women protagonists as being related. I'm wondering what your thoughts on this.
Well, they are related in certain ways, mostly by not being related, because this one doesn't know what choice is, and she's completely unable to make a choice because she's so inadequate in facing life. And Nora in The Doll's House, she dances around a lot and does what may please other people. I recognize that a lot from myself, and only in the end does she face reality, that she is dancing, that she is a people pleaser, and she makes a decision within one night: I'm leaving my house, I'm going to find myself. But we don't know if she's coming back again, actually. Ibsen never wrote that. But she does leave. Whereas Scenes from a Marriage, the woman there, she grows, and she doesn't go back. She grows and she becomes independent, and she doesn't lose her capacity of love. Even the man she felt that kept her from loving. So yes, they are the same, although they are very, very different. And actually, Scenes from a Marriage, which was the film Ingmar Bergman made, that's the only film I made with him where I was not neurotic at all.
Not neurotic. I'll let someone ask a follow-up question to that. Okay, so we're gonna, the rule is we definitely need you to use a microphone, and people are gonna pass them around. In addition to you all getting to enjoy the company of Liv Ullman, we also have a podcast where this will go out as well. So we need a microphone. All right, so questions. Okay, okay, I'm gonna go back, and I'll come over there.
Hi, just was curious if you still have an interest in being an actress yourself, working as an actress yourself, and also if you have a comment on Schubert's film of Miss Julie.
Yeah, I'd love to be an actress, but they make so few movies for my age. But you know, if there is a good part, it can be small. I love a big one, but it could be small. and I would do it, but I'm very happy with my life, you know, directing and writing. And I like that you asked about Schubert because, as I said, film is still the media where you have everything, you know, art and writing and also music. And the Schubert, the one which is Miss Julie's piece, which is the same all the time when we hear it, but it changes because of the environment which is under, and in the end it follows her into death. And that is incredible how the circumstances of your life is also coloring the music you are hearing. And in all the films I made, I have Schubert is my.
I was asking about the film of Miss Julie that I was asking about the film of Miss Julie that Alf Schubert did. Maybe I'm not pronouncing it well. It's a 1951 film with Anita Björk. I was wondering if you had a comment on that.
Oh, I thought you were into the music. But now, Schubert made...
Sjöberg. Alf Sjöberg.
Oh yes, I didn't like it. No, I didn't like it at all. I didn't feel it was true to August Strindberg either, and he had made up so many things. You talk about my adaptation, that's nothing. He did a lot of strange adaptations that I think it didn't even belong. I'm sorry if you like it, but I didn't. But you know, it was seen as a good movie. It won first prize in Cannes and so. But no, I didn't like it.
And just to follow up from your question about acting again, I have heard that there have been at least one or two Hollywood directors that had you in mind for some roles, and I was wondering if you would circle back and return to Hollywood again in the future as an actor.
Sure, you know, if it was a good part. As a matter of fact, I do have an offer to do a smaller part with a very famous director, and if that movie happens, I will be very happy. It's even a comedy.
Okay, right here. Second row.
First, Ullman, thank you for coming and sharing with us. It's a very special moment, I think, for most of us sitting here who have seen all of your work. I have seen your Miss Julie, and I must tell you, I was stunned by the trap that they all were in, each one of them. And I wondered, the two women, very different, but there seemed to be no option for either one of them except what they do. Blanche has her fantasy life. There seems to be no imagination, no fantasy, no survival techniques for the people trapped in a no-exit kind of situation. So could you talk about the two women and how they deal with each other in your film?
Yes, that's an interesting thing. And you know, I directed Streetcar Named Desire with Kate Blanchett, this incredible actress, and I felt, yes, there is a fantasy place for her too. And the way I allowed it to be is, in the end, they all think she is mad, and I do not think she is mad. It's only that she cannot keep reality. Life is no more real because nobody really sees her and wants her and cares for her. And so they send for a doctor, and the doctor comes to the sister's home, and they take her out, and nobody says goodbye or anything. They take her out, and they take her out to the stage, and suddenly the doctor lets go of her, and the nurse, and everybody in the house, they freeze and they are quiet. And the nurse, the sister, everybody, they freeze, they're quiet. And then we follow Blanche to the other side of the stage. And there she's standing, and the light is coming. And suddenly she is in this world that she has created, where nobody is asking me anything, nothing is expected from me, but right here and right now, I'm happy, and I will never come out again. I will just be in this world where nobody is going to reach me anyway. I felt that was her escape. And in the movie, the escape, or the way that the housekeeper, the servant, the chef, she has her Bible, and she has to believe in her class. It's maybe not the most distinguished class, but it's the class she is proud of, and she has the Bible. And she does something that no one really in that movie does. She shows barmhjertighet. She shows compassion. She shows compassion towards that woman who has really destroyed her life too. Because in the middle of having her life destroyed, she takes her handkerchief and she does this and takes away the blood from her face. And she quotes the Bible and say, I want you to know this, and this is the answer for her. And maybe in the end it seemed to be some kind of answer for Miss Julie too, the Bible. And Miss Julie, she does something like Blanche does. She goes out of the house with the knife she has in her hand, and she goes to the brook where she was when she was a little girl and she was happy, and she sends out the flowers with the brook, and she says, you all belong together, you're small, but you belong together. And we see the brook and we see the flowers, and suddenly we come back to Miss Julie, and she's lying there, and she has taken her life. But for a split second, she was happy too. And I'm not condoning that you take your life, but for her, at that moment, it gave her some kind of serenity. So I feel that each of them chooses something, and maybe only the housekeeper chooses something that allows her to continue living as a real person.
A question over on this side. Microphone.
Do you think it's important when you direct a film that you write the screenplay?
Yes, for me, if I was to do a movie, I have had some offers in the last years to do a screenplay written by somebody else. One was a really good one. It was a lot about horses, and I don't know enough about horses. And it wasn't good, really producers and so, but I knew my knowledge wasn't big enough. So for me, yes, I have so little time that I want to write it. I want to stand behind it. It has to be something that I care about. I can base it on a book, I don't mind that, but the words, the silences has to be mine.
Right, and yet you say you've written the screenplay, you're directing it, but then what I heard tonight was all sorts of things happen that surprise you.
Yes, so I may really do another movie about horses because I suddenly understand. I don't know. I may do something that surprises me, but I don't think I'm going to be surprised by it.
No, I'm sorry, I meant just you're surprised by what the actors are doing, even though you've written the screenplay and you're directing them. Things happen that you didn't anticipate.
Oh, but that is fantastic. That is fantastic. As long as I myself say where I'm going, I'm very happy if somebody takes my hand on the road I'm going and shows me a better place a little to the left, as long as I'm walking in my direction, because nobody would be there and take my hand if they weren't in that direction. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, yes, thank you.
Okay, question right here. Second row.
Thanks for the presentation. You have worked with Ingmar Bergman for decades now, and you have been in a number of films with him. How much his directing style affected your vision into directing films?
Well, you know, the trust in the people I work with, to pick all the best people, because I know they will fill in everything that I do not know from the field of work where they come from, to listen and to inspire good things, but we are different also as people. He once wrote a script which he could have directed himself, and he gave it to me. It was called Private Confessions. And he said, I want you to do this. I said, but why are you not doing it? And he came with a very lame answer. He said, well, I don't believe in God or anything, so I can't make this movie. I mean, he had written it. And I did it, and he was very happy with it. And so, but I think he needed a woman's hand in it.
Are there any others of his writings that you considered to direct?
Say one.
Are there any other things that he has written that you consider directing?
No, I directed another one that he wrote and he gave to me also. And that was about what he saw as the greatest sin he had done in his life, and that had been to be unfaithful to someone. I happen to know that story. It happened long before me, and I don't think that was the greatest sin he ever did. But that was his version. And he gave that to me and wanted me to direct it because he felt he couldn't do it, and it was written as a monologue. And I said, well, I need to do it, you know, that you see the scenes. And he wasn't against that, as long as I kept his text, but it could be scenes. And then I said, but we need some forgiveness. I mean, this can't continue to be the greatest sin of your life. Can't you forgive yourself? Because in the movie there is an old man. His name was Bergman, so obviously that was Bergman. And then there was a younger man who was Bergman as the young Bergman. And I said, so can't he forgive himself? No, Bergman, that's not me. So why did you call him Bergman? But no, he would not do that, not to be forgiven. And then I did this because I was not allowed to change the words. That's how it was. I can understand that, actually. Then there was a long monologue from the younger Bergman, because it goes back and forth in time. The younger Bergman, he sits in front of a mirror in Ingmar's version and says, this was terrible, and how could I be like this to this woman, and it has ruined my life in a certain degree, etc., etc., he said. So what I didn't let that young Bergman sit there in front of the mirror. I let him come into the working room of the old Bergman. And the old Bergman is sitting listening to the young Bergman. And what does the old Bergman do when he's finished with his guilt-ridden monologue? He reaches out and he pats him on the chin and smiles, and without words, forgive. And actually, he didn't forgive me for that. It took a year, but then that was okay.
You heard it here, folks. All right, maybe time for one or two more questions. We'll go up in the front here. We can wait for the mic. Oh, you can grab that one. Oh, okay.
Hi. When casting Miss Julie, what was it about Jessica Chastain that called your attention? Had you seen any of her work prior?
Yes, before I asked her on the phone. Actually, her agent also called me. That's how I had the phone number. I saw all the movies she had made, and I thought in every movie she was different, and she found another core of that person. So I knew this is a really, really gifted actress. And then I went to Los Angeles, and we had a meeting, not for her to audition. Of course not. You don't audition actors, but for us to talk, to see that we would have a way of being together. And I really fell in love, and she was very sincere and very like this. And during the whole shooting, she was like this. And when I actually met her in Toronto after the shooting, I saw Jessica Chastain for the first time. She was young and happy and laughing and so, and I couldn't believe it. This is the heavy, sincere, almost like neurotic Liv in the old days, you know, all the time, because she kept very much into her part during the whole shooting. She really did. But I knew the moment I met her that I was lucky if she really, after meeting me, also wanted to work with me. And she did, and I did, and it was an incredible. I learned a lot from her. She taught me a lot. She's a wonderful, wonderful actress.
Would you work with her again?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. The only thing she said, which I didn't like, but I had to exist, you know, because I usually stand by the camera here, and I stand there. She did say that made her nervous, because then she felt like, you know, oh, Liv Ullman is watching me, and not the director, and, you know, could I please go and look in a monitor? And I did sometimes when I felt I was really doing that to her, but mostly I wanted to stand there. But whatever makes an actor nervous, you shouldn't be doing.
And Colin?
One question back there.
Hi. I just had a quick technical question. When you were shooting inside of the castle for the interior shots, did you use boom mic?